Hey y'all, God bless you. In today's video, I have an exciting dupes video for y'all. I have been seeing floating around a dupe for the Natasha Denona Gold palette, and I picked up the dupe. This is the Alter Ego Goddess palette. I'll be showing y'all comparison side-by-side swatches as well as trying on the eyeshadows on one side at a time, one side being Natasha Denona, one side being the Alter Ego. And before we get into the video, pause your screen and let me know which side you think is Natasha Denona and which side you think is Alter Ego Goddess palette. So if y'all want to see how these shadows apply and hear my thoughts on it, then please continue to keep on watching. Before I get into the demo, I do want to show y'all what the palettes look like. This right here is the Natasha Denona Gold palette. As you can see, it is very used and abused. I definitely get a lot of use out of this palette. It is one of my favorite palettes for sure. I absolutely love it. I do use it for more of my neutral gold looks, and I think that the formula is amazing. It's very buttery. It's not overly pigmented. Her metallics and her shimmers, they apply like a dream. I do wet my brush, and that's only because I always wet my brush when I apply shimmers. I absolutely love how each and every one of her shadows perform within this palette. And the dupe that has been floating around is this right here. This is the Alter Ego Goddess palette. Here's the outer packaging. It is a hardcover, so it is more sturdy. I will give it that. I don't mind the packaging of the gold palette, but this is more compact, as you can see. And then opening it up, you do have a mirror as well. And then here are the shadows. So you definitely do get less product within this palette, but I mean, come on. These are so similar. And when doing a side-by-side, you can clearly see the exact similarities. It's uncanny. I'm going to go ahead and insert swatches right now, as well as a small recording. As y'all can see, the shades are almost spot on. I know there are some people that don't really like that, but for people that don't want to fork out $129 for an eyeshadow palette, the Goddess palette does retail for $16, so that is not bad at all. I'm going to go ahead and show y'all a demo of me applying the palette side by side, and then afterward I will give y'all my final thoughts. So jumping right in, I'm going to be going ahead and priming my eyes with my MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. I am going to use something on my eyes to prime them that I know works well, just to give the shadows in the Goddess palette a fair shot. I'm going to go ahead and do the Natasha Denona on this side of my face, and then do the Alter Ego Goddess palette on this side of my face. So Natasha Denona, Goddess palette. I'm going to be using the same brushes for the eye look, just so that way the same brush is being used for application, but I am going to be wiping the brush in between uses. I do have my e.l.f. Daily Brush Cleaner sprayed on a towel that I have right here, and then I'm just going to be wiping the brush on that. You know what, let me zoom y'all in. I'm going to be taking the shade right here, which is called Aria, and just applying that into my crease. Alright, going into the Goddess palette, the shade that is closest to that one is this one here called Hera. And I'm going to be doing the exact same thing. You could see that right off the bat it's not as pigmented, but it is buildable to get basically the same shade. I'm not going to be going for anything too crazy. I really do dramatic looks when I use the Natasha Denona Gold palette. I do keep it more simple and more neutral, and I really like the golds to stand out. I have used this color once before, and I had just placed it all over my lid, and then I used one of the shimmers to pop in the inner corner. I'm not going to be doing anything like that today. I'm just going to be doing a look that I typically do a whole lot when I use this palette. So right now I'm going to be going into the shade Alchemist, and I'm just going to be applying that all over my lid. And all the time when I do use any shimmers, 99% of the time I do wet the brush. So I do have some Fix Plus here. This is a ColourPop E3. It's just like a flat shader brush. I'm just going to be wetting it with some Fix Plus. And I'm just going to apply that shade from inner to outer all over my lid. Some of these shadows work better when you pack them on as opposed to swiping. I'm going to take my E27 brush that I was using in the beginning and some of the shade Aria and blend in the crease just to blend out those harsh lines. And the shade that is the most similar to the one that I just put on my lid is this one right here called Lissa. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, wet my brush, and then apply that all over my lid. Oh wow, that is gorgeous. It looks just the same. I'm going to take the E27 again, I wiped it off, and I'm going to go into the shade Hera, or Hera, however you say it, and just blend those edges. You could tell I did get a little bit of fallout from that shadow, and from what it looks like the Goddess palette's shadow is a little more chunkier than the Natasha Denona one. I just put some shadow on my finger. I'm just trying to build it up so it could be a little bit similar. The Natasha Denona shadows are definitely a lot softer and definitely easy to blend and easy to work with. They're not as harsh or as chunky, but I would say for $16 that these look pretty similar. So taking a smaller blending brush in E28, I am going to go into the shade Log, which is just this chocolate brown within the Natasha Denona palette, and I'm just going to deepen up the edge ever so slightly, just deepen up the outer edge of the eye. The shadow that is most similar to that within the Goddess palette is a shade right here called Avalon. So I'm going to take a makeup remover wipe and just clean up any fallout that I might have had, as well as clean up the edges of the eye. Alright, so I know that this is pretty simple, but this is a look that I do about 90% of the time when I am using the Natasha Denona Gold palette, and I have to say, if y'all didn't know that I was doing this dupes video, you wouldn't be able to tell that I had two separate palettes on my eyes, so I think that that is pretty amazing. Right now, being that the focus of the video is the Goddess palette compared to the Natasha Denona Gold palette, I'm just going to go off camera, put the rest of my makeup on, and then we'll be back and we will finish up the lower lash line. Alright, so I went ahead and applied the rest of my makeup. I also applied lashes just to save some time. So I'm going to go ahead and just finish off the eye look by finishing up the lower lash line, inner corner. I did apply some of my highlight along my brow bone, just very little. When I run the brush along for my highlight, I naturally just put it within my brow bone just to make it pop a little more. So for the lower lash line, I'm going to be taking that chocolate brown color within the Natasha Denona palette, and I'm going to be running that along the lower lash line. So going into the Goddess palette, I'm going to take the same chocolate brown and run that along the lower lash line as well. Going into the Natasha Denona palette, I'm going to take the shade Aria and just run that right underneath the chocolate brown that we just put down. I'm going to do the same thing with the shade Hera from the Goddess palette. So as kind of an eyeshadow topper, I know I have lashes on, so I don't know how that's going to work out. But I do want to take the shade Kava and just top the lid shade that we already put down, just to see what it does. Just to brighten it up a little bit. Just to add a little more pop. There we go. So then in the Goddess palette, that's going to be the shade right here called Pandora. Wow, that is gorgeous. And then I'm just going to take my blending brush and just run it along edges just to blend out any harshness. So for inner corner, I am going to wet my brush with some Fix Plus from the Natasha Denona palette. I'm going to go in with this shade right here. Then from the Goddess palette, that shade is going to be the one down here called Cassandra. Wow, that's so vibrant. I'm going to take the shade Sparks, which is this shade right here from Natasha Denona. Then from the Goddess palette, that is going to be the shade Freya. So I don't know how I like those shades in the brow bone. I kind of just wanted to use up as many shades, but I'm going to take my highlighter. This is the Natasha Denona Super Glow in 01, and I'm just going to tap it in the brow bone and tap the inner corner just to make it pop a little more. Alright y'all, that wraps up this video. I cannot believe how similar these two look. What do y'all think? This is Natasha Denona Gold Palette. And this is Alter Ego Goddess Palette. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you've been wanting the gold palette, but you really haven't been wanting to fork out the $129. Will you be picking up the Goddess palettes? I do believe that this is a spot-on dupe. I cannot believe how similar these two look. I also believe that some of the shadows within the Goddess palette are a little, I don't want to say more like pigmented, but they are more vibrant to a sense. The Natasha Denona shades are so soft and so buttery, so they are easy to build up. You can use them lightly, but if you want to build them up, you most certainly can. Some of these shades in here that I use, like Valkyrie and Freya, they are beaming. I mean, look at that brow bone highlight. I know I added my highlighter on top, but before I added that, it was popping for sure. I really hope that y'all enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel if you're not already. God bless y'all today and always, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!